Well, hello, this is Mrs. Robertson, and today we are going to do measures of variation. This is Chapter 11, Lesson 3, located on page 829. Once again, Chapter 11, Lesson 3, Measures of Variation. All right, what does that mean? Measures of variation are used to describe the distribution or spread of the data. They describe how the values of a data set vary with a single number. A quartile is one measure of variation. All right, so here they have a few things that they want us to talk about. And quarter, I think we're going to skip that section, and we're going to go straight to the definitions on page 830. Yes, measures of variation. These are the given definitions that I want you to know how to do. All right, quartiles are values that divide the data into 4 equal parts. That makes sense. How many quarters are in a dollar? 4. So when you divide something into quartiles, it's going to make it into 4 equal parts. Okay? Now, we're going to talk about how do we get the first and third quartile. The first and third quartiles are the medians of the data values less than the median and data values greater than the median respectively. All right, that doesn't make a whole lot of sense. I want to talk to you about the second quartile. Let's write this down. The second quartile is the median. You all know what a median is, right? It's your middle number. All right. Now, if we look down below, see this list of numbers? Median, put Q2 above the median, make that a Q. It looks like a circle with a line through. Your second quartile is the median. So what you do is you're finding a lot of middle numbers. Median is your middle number. All right. Then you have this group here, the lower half and the upper half. You see that? Well, the middle number in the lower half is your Q1, and the middle number in the upper half is your Q3. That's what the words we're saying here, okay? Now, your interquartile range, or your IQR, is the distance between the first and third quartiles. So whatever you get for your answer of this, and you get an answer for this, you subtract them, and that gives you your interquartile range. And then you all know what the regular range is, right? The regular range is the difference between the greatest and the least data values. Sometimes it's called maximum. Maximum is your highest number minus your minimum. Minimum is your slowest number. Okay. Now, let's look at the data set here. In this data set, did they put them in order from little to big? Yes, they did. How many numbers do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Well, that means we're going to have 2 middle numbers. What's halfway in between a 3 and a 4? 3.5, right? So that's going to be 3.5. Now, on the next set, we have to figure out what's our middle number in the lower part and what's our middle number in the upper part. And in this, what's halfway between, so the 3 goes with this group and the 4 goes with that one. What's halfway between a 1 and a 2? 1.5. What's halfway in between a 6 and a 7? 6.5. So, to get your interquartile range, it's going to be, in this one, 6.5 minus 1 5/10. So the interquartile range is 5 or 5.0. Do you see that? That's all that is. It's a bunch of middle numbers. Well, let's go on and look at example 1. Find the measures of variation for the data. Okay, so here you had to put them in order from little to big. Okay? So, 1, 8, 25, 30, 50, and 70. Any questions on that? Okay, so now we have to find our median. Put a Q2 over median because I just want you to know your second quartile and your median are the same thing. 1, 2, 3. Our median here is, since we have an even number of numbers, you add 25 and 30. Divide it by 2. 25 plus 30, 55, divided by 2 gives you your 27.5. Any questions on how to do the median? Now we're going to do our lower quartile and our upper quartile, or Q1. These are the lower sets of numbers. Now the 25 gets to go with this group, okay, kids? So, what's our middle number with this group of numbers? 8. That's your Q1. See how they got the Q1? Now we have to find our middle number in the upper group. Since there were 2 of them, this one gets to go in with the 30 goes over here. What's your middle number here? 50. That's your Q3. Any questions on that? Now, what's your quartile range? 50 minus 8. And 50 minus 8 gives you the answer of 42. Any questions? Okay, let's do letter A together. First thing, we have to put them in order from little to big. And here, our smallest number will be what, 50-something? 56, 57, 58, and 59. So let's write these down. 56, 57, 58, 59. Then it's going to be 60, 61, 62. Any more? Oh, 64 and 67. Then, is it 71? That's it. Now let me double check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Now I have 2 middle numbers. When you have an even number of data, you're going to have 2 middle numbers. All right. So here it's 60 and 61. I have to add my numbers together and divide it by 2, and I get 60.5. Does everyone see how I got 60.5? That's my middle number. That's my median. That's Q2. Then I need to find my middle number in the lower quartile and the upper quartile. So, here, I'm going to get 58. The 60 goes with this lower group. So, $58, and in the upper group, 64. Okay, so that's my Q1. This is my Q3, and that's my Q2, or my median, right? So determine the measures of variation. Now, so let's see. The range will be 71 minus 56, and the range is 15, and the IQR will be 64 minus 58. And that is 6. So the interquartile range is 6. Any questions? All right. Now let's go to the next page. Outliers. Have you ever heard of outliers before in 5th grade? Did they talk about what an outlier is? It's not a person that lies. It's in math. It is something else. It says an outlier is a data value that is either much greater or much less than the other values in a data set. If a data value is more than 1.5 or 1.5 times the value of the interquartile range beyond the quartiles, it is an outlier. Most of the time, kids, you can look and just tell if it's an outlier because it's much smaller or much larger. Okay, let's look at example 2. Oh, let's do the stop and reflect first. Which measure of center would most likely be affected by an outlier? Well, we're going to find the answer to that question in just a little bit. So let's look at example 2. The ages of candidates in an election are as follows. Name any outliers in the data. Well, when you look at this, I see 2 outliers. Do you see 2 outliers? Which number is smaller than the others? 23 is much smaller. And is 72 much bigger? All right. So we think that 23 and 72 are the outliers. Now there is a formula to check. It says find the interquartile range. Well, the interquartile range, let's put these in order: 23, 48, 49, 55, 57, it's running out of ink, 63, 72. That's my middle number. That's Q2. That's my middle number. That's Q1. That's my middle number, Q3. So my IQR, 63 minus 48. Now this is what you do when eyeballing doesn't work. When you just say, oh, these are my outliers. So you subtract 13 minus 8 is 5. 5 minus 4 is 1. So 15. So it says multiply the interquartile range by 1.5. Okay, that's what it tells you up there. 15 times 1.5 is 22.5. So if 23 is smaller than 22.5 taken away from 48, it's an outlier. If 72, if I take the one before it, 63 plus 22.5 is 85.5. 72 actually is not an outlier. It looks like it is, but it's too close. So the only outlier in this group is 23. 72 is still pretty close to 63. All right. Now, we're going to skip letter B and go on to number 3. It says the table shows a set of scores on a science test in 2 different classrooms. Compare and contrast their measures of variation. Well, look here, kids. They did a nice thing for you. They've already found your range. For room A, 100 minus the smallest value is 35. Room B, the range is 35. Oh, so they have the same range, don't they? Median. Room A, your median is 80. In room B, your median is 81. Now, quartile 3 for room A is 89.5. For room B, it's 90. Quartile 1 for room A is 69.5. For room B, it's 69. Your interquartile range, they're all pretty much the same, aren't they? It says, both classrooms have a range of 35 points, but room B has an interquartile range of 21, while room A's quartile range is 20. There are slight differences in the medians as well as the third and first quartile. But the data is very similar, isn't it? Yes. Okay, let's go to the next page. All right, we're going to do letter C, and then we'll do the guided practice and see what I have you do for homework. In C, temperatures for the first half of the year are given for Antelope, Montana, Augusta, Maine. Compare and contrast the measures of variation of the two cities. All right, so the measures of variation means we're going to find range and interquartile range, right, kids? Okay, so first we're going to put them in order from little to big. I'm going to do Montana's up here, and or Antelope, Montana, and Augusta, Maine's down below. So I'm putting this group in order from little to big. Oh, those are pretty much in order, aren't they? Are these in order? Well, that makes it easy. All right, so here is our middle number. So your median here, 42 plus 58 is 100. Divided by 2 is 50. So your mean is 50 for this one. This one, when you add them together, you get 94. And 94 divided by 2 will give you 47. Okay? Now we have to find our lower quartile and our upper quartile. I got to find my middle number in, this is my lower. Well, that's pretty easy. It's 30, right? And this one's 32. Then I have to find my middle number in my upper group. Okay, so range. 79 minus 21 will give me the range for Antelope. 79 minus 21 gives you the answer 58. And 75 minus 28 gives you a range for Augusta as 47. Yeah. Now we have to, any questions on how to do the range? Now we're going to do the IQR. It's pretty easy. You're going to do 70 minus 30. Let me do it in a different color ink. 70 minus 30 is 40, and 66 minus 32. 34. All right? So, on this it says, compare and contrast the measures of center. Well, Antelope, Montana's range and its interquartile range are higher than Augusta, Maine's. This one is 11. The range is higher by 11, whereas the interquartile range is higher by 6. Any questions on that, kids? All right, so what do I want you to do for homework? I want you to do on page 832, the guided practice. I would like for you to do 1 and 2. If there's time, I'll help you get started on this. And then on page 833, I want you to do 1. And I would like for you to do number 3. Any questions on this? If there is time, you can do a couple more, but that's the main thing I want you to do. 1 and 3. So you do 1 and 2 on page 832. And on 833, I want you to do 1 and 3. If you want to practice, there'll be other problems for you to practice. We'll probably do number 5, the STEM problem, tomorrow also. So if you have a chance, let's add number 5 to this. So on page 833, I just added number 5. 1, 3, and 5. And on 832, 1 and 2. Have a good day. All right, kids.